All right. Prelim notables. Let me pull it up on my screen here. And there's actually a lot of really interesting fights rounding out this last UFC card of the year. A couple ones, you got Sergey Mazarov and Jordy Newson starting off the main card here. David Dvorak is a name against Manal Cape, a guy we've talked about before. Bryan Battle, tough, most recent tough, or I guess second to most recent tough winner. He's fighting on Rinat Fakhretdinov. I doubt I said that properly. Machate versus Rafa Garcia, another good fight. Said Nurmagomedov, and Nurmagomedov's on the card. Julian Marquez, also on the card. Jake Mathews is coming back. Almost every single person on this prelim part of the fight here has somewhat of a recognizable name, at least to me. And I know I watch the UFC every week, so to say that might not be saying too much. But even still, there's going to be guys who show up on the bottom part of a card who you don't recognize. It's their first fight, or very early in their career. So to say that this last UFC Fight Night card is actually going to have a lot of semi-well-known to very well-known people on it is impressive. And obviously, it's headlined by Sean Strickland and Jared Cannonier, which I think is going to be an absolute banger. And I'm not even totally sure where I'm going to go at with that one yet. But in terms of prelim locks and prelim notable fights, the first one I want to get into a little bit is going to be Jake Mathews versus Matthew Semlesburger, Semi the Jedi. And I think after the fight we just saw against Jake Mathews against Andre Fiallo, finishing him with that right cross, and Jake Mathews coming out saying that he's a new Jake Mathews. He's training much more efficiently and much more effectively now. He feels much better than he ever has, and actually going out and showing that. After changing some things up, taking some time off after that submission loss against Sean Brady, taking a year and a half off before coming out against Andre Fiallo and looking much more improved at 28 years old, filled out, strong for the division. I'm really excited to see what Jake Mathews, the Celtic Kid, is going to be able to do moving forward. And then Matt Semlesburger, Semi the Jedi, is coming off a loss just 3 months ago against Alex Morono, guy we just saw get knocked out last night. He made a really funny face when he did it. But yeah, he's coming off, like I said, he it has the loss to Alex Morono 3 months ago. You got to be concerned about somebody coming back in, going to a decision, back and forth, banger of a fight. Alex Morono is always going to, be able to throw down. And we just saw him get knocked out at the end of a fight. Is that an accumulation of damage thing? And could that be in the future of Matthew Semlesburger here? He's got the win over AJ Fletcher, which was unanimous, and the knockout over Martin Sano, but he also has the loss against Chaos Williams. Looking at the version of, Jake Mathews that we saw most recently against Andre Fiallo, he was quick, he was powerful. He has when he's throwing his jab, he really throws from the legs, a strong part. And against Matthew Semlesberger, a guy who hasn't traditionally had chin issues in the past, but it is a guy who's absolutely hittable and down to throw. I just like Jake Mathews here. I like him a lot. I think at minus 240, you could take him to win by knockout or decision. I don't think a submission is in the future here against Semlesberger, especially Semlesberger is pretty adept on the ground too. I like Jake Mathews. He's got a 3-inch reach disadvantage, so he's gonna have to get in on the inside and punch, which I think plays to his game even better. He's gonna have a more powerful jab once he gets in there, the straight, the cross, the hooks, those inside interior punches, especially, and also the footwork too. So I like Jake Mathews as my prelim lock. Prelim notable against Matthew Semlesberger. Another one that I feel really confident about is going to be Julian Marquez over Deron Winn. First of all, Deron Winn coming in at 186 pounds is 5'6" against a 6'2" Julian Marquez. Cuban Missile Crisis. We're talking about an 8 inches of height, and typically height isn't something that I would look at when trying to decide a fight. But when you're giving up 8 inches, Deron Winn is a small meatball, strong guy, especially for 185 pounds. But I think Julian Marquez at this point, excuse me, is going to have a stronger stand-up game. I think he's going to be able to land on Deron Winn. And last time we saw Deron Winn, he did not look good against Phil Hawes, getting finished. I just think we're going to see much of the same game plan that's implemented. Julian Marquez being able to stay away from Deron Winn. I know there's only a 2-inch reach advantage, but when there is such a difference in height there and such a difference in physical size and just overall build, of the fighter, I got to go with Julian Marquez here. He's got some decent wins. His loss to Gregory Rodriguez, I'm not going to hold too much against him. Obviously Gregory Rodriguez is turning out to be one of the top guys in the division, in the 185-pound division. So he's got the submission win over Sam Alvey, Maki Bitolo. He's got that win, and he's got the submission win over Darren Stewart. A very close split decision loss to Alessio Di Chirico. Julian Marquez, I don't think he's a guy who's going to be at the top of the division, winning championships and vying for the belt. But I do think he is a very solid contender. Not ranked yet, but I do think he's going to have much better abilities and be positioned to get the win over Deron Winn. I think Deron Winn is doesn't have the power to his punches in order to put away a guy like Julian Marquez. He's traditionally really strong. In the head, it took a guy like RoboCop, who's knocking out a lot of people, to put away Julian Marquez. I don't see Deron Winn being able to have the power to stun him and land the follow-up shots and really put Julian Marquez away. So for that reason, I'm also going with Julian Marquez as a prelim notable. And we got a really interesting fight against with Said Nurmagomedov versus Saidyokub Kakhramonov. That's a really, really interesting fight. I'm going to have to go with Said Nurmagomedov. He is just more well-rounded. He's got the Nurmagomedov last name, but I think he's actually part of a different tree. But even with that being said, he's got a decent grappling game, but Said Nurmagomedov is much more of a striker, and he's a dynamic striker. He uses an active leg kicking game and a leg body kick game. He uses really active teeps and spinning attacks. I think he's just going to overwhelm Saidyokub Kakhramonov, and he's going to be better at him in anywhere that the fight could take place. I think is going to be to the advantage of Said Nurmagomedov. So I'm going to go with him as well. And you have a guy coming in, another notable prelim lock that I wanted to touch on just really quickly. I think I might have one more that I want to share with you too. Like I said, littered with people that you know and have heard of. You have Mahachete coming in here at 23 years old. His second fight in the official UFC. First, he knocked out Steve Garcia with that counter right 5 months ago. That's coming in off the unanimous decision win over Achilles Estramurda on the Contender Series. Not a ton of high quality, high experience competition before the UFC, but obviously coming in and showing that he's improving and only getting better as he goes. He's got that really fast, like we said, counter right that was able to get him the win over Steve Garcia, 23 years old, 6 foot tall, 71.5-inch reach. He's going to be the much taller guy and have a 3.5-inch reach advantage against Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia is actually the favorite, but when you look at Tapology, 500 votes, 75% are on Machete. And I got to say, I am too. I think he's going to be faster than Rafa Garcia and be able to land more. I think his improvements, I think he's going to be getting better and better. I know Rafa Garcia at 28 years old is probably entering his prime here, but he's just shown more impingements when it comes to getting into standing striking battles. Nasrat Haqparast, you look at Chris Gutzmacher, you look at Drakkar Klose, another one. When you get into a fight with a stand-up with a striker, you just see Rafa Garcia start to fade there, especially as the fight goes on. Machete, I think he's going to have the youth and the experience and the explosiveness in his shots to put Rafa Garcia on the back foot early and probably take the second round from him. I think maybe in the third, you may start to see Rafa Garcia go in, start to come back here. But I think Machete, just being the younger 23-year-old, the force, and you can get him at near even here. I expect that to move a little bit. He's going to be the bigger guy. He's going to be the faster guy. He's younger. He's improving better. And, he's shown the ability to knock people out. And that's just not something that we've seen from Rafa Garcia. So for all those reasons, I'm going to go with Machete. He's also probably has the better chin too, considering his youth. So that's is that 3 or 4? It's 1, 2, 3, 4 prelim notables I got for you. The last one I want to talk about real quick is going to be Bryan Battle's fight. And I'm not actually picking this one in terms of picking Bryan Battle or picking Rinat Fakhretdinov. But I think Yarnat, this is his second fight in the UFC. He has a decision win over Andres Michailidis. And then you have Bryan Battle, who's got that head kick knockout to Takeshi Sato. I would lean Bryan Battle. He's going to be longer. He's going to be taller. But I think Rinat is going to be a little bit more technical and a little bit more, I guess Russian, if that's a way to describe him. He's going to have the grappling game and the clinch game that's going to be able to kind of swing the table back into his side if ever gets a little bit too nuts on the feet or it's not going his way. I'm going to lean Bryan Battle. It's not necessarily a pick that I'm too confident in or that I would advise anybody to follow or tail me on, but it is going to be a fight to watch because I am interested with Bryan Battle, being the not most recent, but second most recent tough champion. Always interested to see where these guys go and what happens with them. So with that being said, those were my prelim notables. You got Bryan Battle and Rinat. That's a fight that you're definitely going to want to watch. But in terms of me and what I'm taking Mahachete over Rafa Garcia. I'm taking Said Nurmagomedov over Saidyokub. A lot of Saids. Julian Marquez over Deron Winn, and I like Jake Mathews over Semi the Jedi. I also think you have a pretty good shot at the Cheyenne Vilsilmas and Corey McKenna fight going to decision. So with that being said, I'm going to move up to the main card, and that comes with a little video.